Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. Today guys, I'll be checking out this interesting video from Thomas Sowell, and it's titled Facts About Civilization You Don't Hear in School. You guys, I'm super excited for this. If you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please consider subscribing. Give this video a massive thumbs up, comment, share, and all that good stuff. And without much ado, let's see what Thomas Sowell has for us in this video.
At one time, it was fashionable to glorify conquest. But in fact, we've become much more aware of the oppressions and the atrocities that go along with it. Conquest in cultures begins with a quote from John Stuart Mill that conquerors almost universally treat the conquered people, in his words, as mere dirt under their feet, unquote. And this raises the question of what is the net balance of good and bad in conquest. And this book explicitly repudiates any attempt to make any such balance. All we can say today is that we can try to understand what happened and what were the causes and what were the consequences. Now, that doesn't make the history of conquest sort of an antiseptic academic exercise, because it has serious implications for some of the major issues of our times. Again, the central theme of these great disparities in wealth, I think, are illuminated by some of the histories of conquest, as well as the history of migrations in the previous volume. Many people seem to think that these disparities are something remarkable. In discussing the Indonesian crisis, many people have said the Chinese are only 5% of the population of Indonesia, and they own 80% of the capital of the country. As if that's astonishing or presumably sinister. In point of fact, such situations have not been rare at all. In 19th century Russia, Germans were 1% of the population of the country. They were 40% of the Russian military high command. They were more than half of the officials in the Russian foreign ministry. In Britain, for a period of about 100 years, when the scholars have gone back through the diplomatic correspondence, they have found that the diplomatic correspondence of the Russians was written in German. The Germans were also the vast majority of all the members of the St. Petersburg Academy of Sciences. Moreover, these were Baltic Germans, who were themselves a minority within the 1% minority of Germans in Russia. They were not nearly as numerous as the Black Sea Germans or the Volga Germans. In 20th century Brazil, in the early period, in Rio Grande do Sul, 100% of whole industries were German-owned. These included the manufacture of trunks, stoves, hats, paper, soap, glasses, matches, beer, of course, leather, and neckties. Jews have never been as much as 1% of the population of Australia. Yet at one time, they owned most of the clothing stores in Melbourne. In Poland, between the two world wars, Jews were just 11% of the population, but they were more than half of all the physicians, and conducted more than two-thirds of the commerce of the country. They were also 3/5 of all the physicians in Hungary, where they were just 6% of the population. People from India so predominated in the commerce of East Africa in colonial times that the rupee became the standard currency in much of East Africa. At the peak of their population size in Uganda, before the mass expulsions by Idi Amin, Indians, Pakistanis, and Goans put together added up to barely 1% of the population. Yet they owned at one time 80% of the capital of the country, including 90% of its cotton gins.
Wow, you guys, this is a very beautiful, insightful, and educating video, because everything that Thomas Sowell is saying here, I don't think I have ever come across them anywhere. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Like I always say, Thomas Sowell is the go-to when it has to do with the history of a particular place, because the way he summarizes every information, he will make you understand everything that you need to understand. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and let's wrap this video up, you guys.
It would be possible to go around the world and back through history, citing similar groups and gross disparities involving the Japanese immigrants in southern Brazil, the Parsis in India, the Lebanese in West Africa, the Italians in Argentina, the Greeks in the Ottoman Empire, or the Igbos in northern Nigeria, among others. Here in the United States, you need only turn on a television set to see gross racial disproportionality in professional basketball. And if you pay attention to the beer companies that sponsor this and other sports event, you will discover that these beer companies were created almost exclusively by Americans of German ancestry. So despite what is assumed in the media, in the politics, and in courts of law, gross statistical disparities are the rule, not the exception, in countries around the world, and they have been for centuries. That still leaves the question as to why there are such huge disparities. It's amazing how many of the people who find these disparities both offensive and puzzling never look at the disparities in inputs behind the disparities in outputs. For example, back when admissions to the universities in Sri Lanka was by examination rather than by racial quotas, as they later became, members of the Tamil minority scored more than half of all the A's on their mathematical examinations, rather than the Sinhalese majority. During the heyday of British industrialization, 40% of all the patents in the world were held by people from Britain. In the late 19th century, just 3 countries produced over half the manufactured goods in the world: Britain, Germany, and the United States. And that was to remain that way for several decades. It's recently been estimated that 17% of the people in the world produce 80% of its output. Nor are these always differences between biologically different people. It was estimated a few years ago that the 36 million overseas Chinese produced as much wealth as the 1 billion people in China itself. That's probably changed now that China has Hong Kong. When people talk about very internal versus external causes of these kinds of disparities, they often talk in needlessly narrow terms. When they talk about nature versus nurture or heredity versus environment, nature is almost invariably taken to mean genes. In all 3 of the books in this series, nature also includes geography. And geography has an enormous impact, not just in the obvious ways of having gold deposits in some countries and not in others, oil deposits in some other places, fertile soil some places and not other places, and so on. I argue throughout the 3 books that the most profound effect of geography is on people, and in particular on their contacts, how wide their contacts are with the range of other people in the world.
Wow, you guys, that was such an interesting one from Thomas Sowell. Let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section down below. I really enjoyed every minute of it, and I believe you guys also enjoyed watching. If you did enjoy watching, give this video a massive thumbs up, comment, share, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.